Greetings, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Shark Week. So, all this week, we're going to go live every single day. We're going to sketch a different shark and a different pose. So, we started out the first day with the really easy side view of the blue shark. And then yesterday, we did the Mako shark. And you can find those over on my YouTube channel in a special playlist. So today we're going to do the lemon shark. And so if you haven't met me before, hi, I'm Christine Elder, and I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, wildlife artist from Southern Oregon. And I love inspiring people to conserve the natural world through the practice of drawing that world. And today actually happens to be World Nature Conservation Day. So I do love to inspire people to conserve species like sharks, which are very maligned and feared, but they have much more to fear from us than we do from them, because fishermen kill approximately 100 million sharks every year. So they're really being decimated out of the world's oceans. So anyway, so each day we're going to do a different shark in a different pose. And so each day those poses are going to get a little bit more challenging. So I hope you're up to the challenge. Now, I'd love for you to say hello in the chat box. Tell me if you've ever seen a shark before. Some sharks are easier to see than others, and some sharks are more commonly found like in aquariums. In fact, I used to work at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I have a scuba license. That's why I've got my scuba shirt on. And so I've been really lucky to dive and snorkel with a variety of species around the world. And at the end, I'll tell you about my course, but I did put a link to it in the chat box. I've got a full online course that's on sale this week. So anyway, we are talking about the lemon shark today. And why have we chosen the lemon shark? Well, it's a really common shark that's in the coastal regions. Now, it's only found from the west coast of the United States and the east coast of the United States down to South America, and also on the west coast of Africa. So a lot smaller distribution than other sharks we've covered so far. But it is commonly in shallow waters. And one reason it's called the lemon shark is because it's got a kind of lemon yellow color. And I've got a couple other photos here. This photo shows better. They're more like a yellow ochre or an olive color, but they did call them the lemon shark. So that yellow ochre color helps them to blend in the shallows, where they're often in shady estuaries and bays and mangroves. They really love mangrove swamps, which themselves are endangered because of overdevelopment of the coasts. But mangroves are really important nurseries for many fishes, including sharks. And so yeah, we are doing the lemon shark. Now, before we get started, we want to just notice a few things about it, because the more you understand an animal's anatomy, the better. So I'm going to make this larger. There we go. And so the lemon shark not only has this distinctive yellow ochre or olive coloration, but they're sort of unique in having both of their dorsal fins be quite large. Usually this first dorsal fin is a lot larger than the second one, especially in species like we did yesterday, the Mako shark, where they have very, very tiny fins back there. The lemon shark is known for having the second dorsal fin be really large, almost as large as this first one. So that's an indicator. And they're fairly small, and they only get up to about, I think I read about 8 feet. So they're very small. They're quite mellow, so they're not really known to attack people. And again, they're commonly encountered if you're a snorkeler, like in the Caribbean or in Mexico or in Baja. You might see them. I'd like to say hello to our live viewers, and please do say hello. Tell us where you're from. Tell us if you've seen a shark before. So I'd like to say hi, Jackie from Aloha. So aloha, Jackie. Okay, so anyway, another thing you might notice about a lot of sharks is they have these fish that follow them, and they're called remoras. And they actually hitch a ride on the shark. So you'll often see these attached to their fins or their sides or their bellies. Okay, so now we did say these are often found in the coast, and they are distinguished as being near threatened. So that's that. Now we're going to draw this view from the side here. And if you're watching on mobile, I would suggest trying to watch it on a desktop. I'm not sure. Tell me if you're watching on mobile and if his little snout's cut off or not. I'm really hard to kind of optimize these videos for both mobile and desktop. Hello, Lisa. Thanks so much for joining from Austin, Texas. Wonderful. So the first thing we want to notice, this shark is a little bit more challenging to draw than the side view we did of the blue shark. So every day we're going to get a little bit more challenging, especially for you guys like Lisa and Jackie who've joined us before. So we're learning a little bit more about drawing. So this shark we're looking at from underneath, right? So we see its whole mouth. And you don't see the teeth sticking out like you did in the mako shark yesterday. They're not visible. But you do see the nostrils really well. And actually on the underside, there's all these little dots that you probably can't see, but I'll kind of put those in. And those are called the ampullae of Lorenzini. And those help them to sense electrical senses that are given off by things like fish in distress or seals or turtles, so that they can help them to find their prey. Now, so we're looking at her or him. I think it's a him. I can't quite tell, but it looks like it's got claspers there, which is the male part that's right behind the pair of pectoral fins. But I'm not sure. We can't see from this end. Anyway, we'll pretend it's a female since we can't see that. But we're looking at her from below, and also she's swimming towards us. So she's very much foreshortened. So her head, you're going to notice, we're going to draw it a lot larger than the middle of the body or the tail. And generally, the tail would be quite large and tall. And this tail is like most sharks, where the top lobe is a lot longer than the bottom lobe. And it also has this little notch out of it as if somebody took scissors. Let's see. Jackie says, you're on your computer. The nose on the left side is cut off. Oh, really? Gosh, it's so hard to tell. Anyway, let me see if I can bring this up. The thing is that my cord is only so long, so it's hard to take it away. And then let me see. Is that better? Tell me, Jackie, if that's better. I think it should be. Tell me, Jackie, if now you can see the nose and the tail. And tell me if you're on a phone. I don't know, Lisa, if you're on a phone or not, if you can see the nose and the tail. We definitely want to see the whole fish. So yeah, please update me. Okay, so this fish is swimming towards us, and she's also kind of swimming upwards as if she's going up to the top to look around. Now I'm going to start with my pencil as usual. And then I'm going to move on to shading because we want to show the highlights and shadows. Okay. And so, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to draw an arched line kind of going like this. This is going to be sort of her body line. And then the tail is kind of going to be sort of like that. All right. Good. Jackie says, yes, it's good. Maybe you could turn it sideways if you're watching on a phone. There's lots of white space underneath. Yes, there is. Okay. And great, Lisa, you're on an iPad and you can see everything, including the table covering. Right? Yes, this is from Guatemala, where they make beautiful fabrics, weavings. Okie dokie. So anyway, now I'm going to kind of box her in, remembering that the snout area and the mouth, kind of this close part of the belly, is going to be the closest. And let me see, how are you guys seeing this? That's a little bit better, where you can see the shark as well as my drawing. Okay, great. So this arch of the body, and then the arch of the tail. And generally when I'm nature sketching, especially maybe if I was at an aquarium sketching, I'm not going to be doing much erasing. I'm going to get all these messy lines in and then erase later. So she's thickest right here. Okay. And then she trails back here. So we want to make her thicker. Now, if you were sketching from a photo and you had her in front of you, you could actually do this with your finger. And oh yeah, that's pretty good. And then that's pretty small. Perfect. Okay, great. So tell me if you've seen a shark before in the wild or at an aquarium. Certain species are easier to raise than others. Like I said, I used to work at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. I have a minor in marine biology, and I actually learned how to scuba dive at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. So you see, we're not doing any erasing. Okay. All righty. So now let's get some details of her face. And again, her face is going to be a lot bigger than you'd think it would be. Look how far back her mouth is. So that's kind of crazy. So, when you're drawing, and drawing in perspective is quite challenging, but it's really good practice. And actually, in my program, the Nature Notebook Club, next month our master class is on perspective. And that tail with the little notch out of it, and then the smaller lower lobe. There we go. Okay. And then let's get her mouth here. And I might actually do a little bit of erasing here to clean this up now a bit, because I feel like we have the outline we want. So we want to erase some of these try lines, and mainly just the ones that are too large, because we're going to shade the inside, so that won't show. You don't have to worry about that too much. Okay. Let me firm this snout up. It's kind of like this. And it's funny, the way she's got her tail, this angle is kind of like this. Okay. And then this kind of squared off nose. It's kind of hard to draw. I think I mentioned this yesterday. Usually when I'm drawing for myself, I've got my wrist and my shoulder on the table, and I can move my drawing around to be more ergonomic when I'm drawing certain lines, because as you see, drawing like this is a lot easier than drawing like this. So I encourage you to move your drawing around a bit for whatever's most ergonomic. So with our hands are always going to be most ergonomic moving like this. And it's going to be a lot harder to get a good line like this, but I'll try my best. Okay, so we've got her snout here, and let's notice where her nose is. It's kind of about here. And there's actually this sunlit area here that we're going to shade differently that goes right above her nose and above where her eye is. And we've drawn this in our other sharks too, where there's this little ledge here. And then, actually, no, that's a little bit too low. Sorry. I notice her eye is pretty close to the top of, because again, we want to show that she's, that we're looking at her from the bottom. Oh, see, it's really challenging to get the right perspective if you're not measuring. So see how far back her eye is. Okay, and then there's this little ledge that continues a little bit here. And then the mouth, you see the mouth is a little bit in front of the nostril, and it touches the bottom here. And then it goes way behind the eye. And again, if I measured like this, now, if you're in my classes, which I think Lisa has purchased my class, you get to download all these high resolution images. There's all 7 species are on here. So that's another benefit of purchasing my course, which I have on sale for just this week only, but you get to keep the course. Somebody asked me today, oh, do we only get to keep the course for the week? No, it's just on sale for this week because I don't really talk much about sharks the rest of the year. There's so many other endangered species to talk about during the year. Okay, so we've got her mouth. Let's have her mouth be open. So there's this little crescent moon shaped arch there. And we can shade that. And the top of the mouth is always going to be shaded darker because there is some reflection from the sun. I always use this sun icon. So the sun is going to be blocking the roof of her mouth, but it might be a little bit brighter at the bottom. Okay. All righty. So we've got that. And again, it doesn't feel right to have her mouth so big. But once we get the other fins there and we see how much smaller they are and how far back they are, the perspective will work. But basically, she's swimming towards us. And I might have gotten her snout a little bit too fat here. Okay, that's close enough. And so then let's add this fin. These fins are in front here. These are the pair of pectoral fins. Now you can see that that first one is right below where her mouth ends. So I do a lot of that kind of comparing of where different parts are. And oh yeah, no, that's going forward a little bit, isn't it? And then it's sort of a big triangle. They tend to have it seems like they have quite wide front. I don't know if you can see that, but they have really wide pectoral fins, it seems like, which I find really interesting. And I think I might make that a little bit shorter. So again, this is farther away from us. So it's foreshortened. It's facing away from us. And this one is facing a little closer to us. In fact, this tip of the fin is probably closer. Well, maybe her maybe her mouth is closest to us. But anyway, so notice where her other fin starts. It kind of starts right above where this other one ends, maybe a little bit in front. And it's about halfway up her belly. And it's going to be aiming out this way. And then down, and it ends about like this. So another way these sharks are different is they're really localized. They don't take big migrations like the other sharks we've been talking about this week. Now, I have made this fin overlap the body a little bit more than is shown here because it's just a little confusing about these two structures and where they are. So sometimes it's good to take a little bit of artistic license. So next we'll add this fin, and it does overlap a bit with this, and it's kind of behind where this pectoral fin is. Maybe sort of like this. But yeah, I'm just going to give a little bit more difference here because these edges are too close together. It's hard to tell what's in front. And of course, we'll emphasize this one with our drawing. All righty. Okay, great. So we're getting her going. So now that we see these other fins here and that they're smaller and farther back, it's helping us to make this front look a little bit more in line, right? Okay, so now next, let's do this second dorsal fin. And it's going to be a lot smaller because this is farther away than this. But in real life, just know that one of the ways of identifying this shark is that their second fin is almost as big as the first dorsal fin. So I think most, if not all, sharks have two dorsal fins. And sometimes the second one is really tiny, like the mako shark we did, and sometimes it's almost the same size. Okay, and then there are a pair of these pectoral fins, pelvic fins. And again, the way we're looking at this one right here is kind of confusing. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm just going to cheat a little bit and have it be a little bit more obvious. Okay? Because they can move these fins. That's what their fins are for, to help them swim in the water. And so they're gonna move those around. So I've taken artistic license. Now I'm gonna do her second pelvic fin, and kind of coming like this. Their fins help them turn left and right. They help them from being from listing to the left or the right. And I'm going to lighten that line. Okay, and then finishing up with the tail. You see her tail, she's swishing it a little bit behind. So that's why we actually have a pretty strong line right here for the base of her body. And then there's the tail with the little notch out of it. And then it's kind of arched here. And then we'll add a little highlight here. So the end, when we shadow, note that their cartilaginous skeleton, the backbone of it, comes up into the tail to help attach to muscles so they can swim strongly. So there's going to be a shadow kind of there. Okay, and so there we go. Now, I'm going to lighten this whole thing and so that we won't have a really obvious outline. So, and I'm going to just fix a few things. I think her mouth is too fat right here. So I'm gonna lighten this whole line here because we don't want to have a really strong outline, okay? To make it look more realistic, we want to show our edges with variations in value. And again, if you're in my Nature Notebook Club, like some of our live viewers here, we'll be doing our August masterclass will be on perspective. And that's aerial or atmospheric perspective concepts can be used in not only drawing a landscape, but drawing any animal, especially if it's coming towards us. Okay, so I'm lightening that up, and then we're going to shade her. And most, if not all, sharks, especially ones that are swimming, there are some sharks that hang out in the bottom a lot, like the woebegone shark, which I think we might do this week. I think I'm going to switch out one of my species for the woebegone. So how are we doing? Tell me in the chat box if you're keeping up. Yeah, I think I've made her head a little bit too fat here, because to really make it look like she's swimming above us, her eye would be, yeah, I've made that a little too thick. Her eye would be really close to the top of her head. And then there is kind of an arch there. I think that's a little closer. So it's kind of magic to be able to show something swimming towards us. Okay, any of you guys watching want to tell me if you're keeping up? Okay, so now I'm going to add some shadowing. And so most active swimming sharks, which are most of the species, they're going to be counter shaded, which we've mentioned in past videos. So the top is going to be darker color, usually kind of a grayish, but in the lemon shark, it's this yellow ochre, but it's going to have more pigment in it. No matter what color they are, it's going to have more pigment. And also some sharks have some darker fins at the edges. And then the underside of them is going to be white. And so here we see a little bit better the white. And of course, how white it looks has to do with if they're in deep water or if it's a sunny day or a cloudy day. And so this shark, her underside is quite blue, but we can lighten that up a bit. And again, remembering that if the sun is a little bit above her and she's swimming up towards the surface, she's going to be lighter in this area than she will be back here where her body is heavier. So the wonderful thing about drawing as opposed to just having a photograph is you can really emphasize that three-dimensional form. Yes, Jackie says, you're sort of keeping up. Nice knowing that I can do the whole thing again, maybe multiple times. Yes, the more you draw something, either just from the same photo or just watching that same species over and over again, or just drawing different species, the more you'll be able to really see it. So, I work as a professional scientific illustrator, and often I will draw something multiple times and it'll get better as I go. Okay, so I'm going to start shading. And so I'm just going to use the side of my pencil. And I'm just going to get a little bit of a medium value everywhere, even underneath here. And when you're shading on the side, it's a little bit hard to not go over your lines a bit, but we can clean it up when we're done. Now, yesterday I demonstrated with my charcoal pencil, but a lot of folks don't have charcoal. So we're just going to use this, but it doesn't matter what medium you use, even if you're using pen and ink or watercolors, the concepts are the same. Really want to get rid of that extra line. Okay. So we want to end up with not really seeing that original outline because a shark doesn't have an outline. Oh, we forgot the gills. We need to add the gills in. Got to be able to breathe. They do. There's this. A lot of species of sharks have another kind of gill called a spiracle. That's kind of back here. I don't see hers. Some species don't have them, like great white sharks don't have them. Sorry, when I get into drawing, my word brain, my left word brain leaves me. That's one of the challenges of teaching when you're drawing. I first started teaching during the pandemic, and I would pre-record the drawing part and then just live narrate the filmed version. And that worked a little bit better for me to be able to talk. But I felt like I really do like to be able to go a little slower. So we want to keep emphasizing our edges, like there's a really obvious difference here between those values. That fin is really coming towards us, so we really need to darken that. Oh yeah, and we need to add the gills. There's 5 gills, basically parallel lines. I'm not going to put too much energy into those. And so yeah, now I just want to keep adding. And so the highlights and shadows are going to be in different places depending on what photo you're using. If we were looking at one of these photos, the highlights and shadows are in a bit different places. But we're going to try to copy what we have here. Like there's more of a shadow on this dorsal fin. She's moving it a little bit. So there's more of a shadow on the back. So yeah, you see how those two values are really close, but once we get lift out some highlights, it'll separate better. But it's important when you're drawing something to really look wherever two things come together, you need to separate those values. And at this point, let's see. I could also, yeah, like to make that highlight, we have to really darken that. So it looks better once we add the highlights. But I will just kind of keep going around. And continuing to make sure I'm able to separate these. Like, for example, her fin is darker than her body behind her. And this fin is darker than the body because it's angled upwards. And if the sun is hitting her body, the body is facing towards the sun more than the fin. Okay. And let's see, the tip of this fin is pretty dark. A lot of animals have dark on their bodies that's created from the pigment called melanin. And that's a strengthening pigment. So, for example, birds' feathers are often black, especially the tips of them. So, and a bird's beak is often black, especially like woodpeckers, because they are hitting the wood with their beak, and that causes damage. Would cause damage if they didn't have more melanin. Now, before I get too far with the shadowing, I like to blend it a bit. So I'll have my blending stomp. You could use your finger or Q-tip. And these blending stomps come in a few different sizes, but I happen to have just one here in front of me. And so that will help me to even out some of these values before I start lifting the highlights. And so it takes a little patience. And I love to really make something look realistic. We've got we got about 15 more minutes. I try to finish up within an hour in general. So I'll blend some of this with my blending stomp. And, sometimes it'll make it too dark, like on the belly, and I'll maybe lighten that up a bit. But we want to smooth out those values because we don't see pencil marks on the shark's body, right? So I just kind of go around everywhere and blend things. And a lot of times people might sort of give up at this point and think, oh, I'm good enough, or, it doesn't really look real yet. I don't know what I'm doing. But you just kind of keep persevering, especially if you love making things look kind of more photoreal, like I love to. That takes a while. It takes a little while. One of my other tricks I'll often do is, let me see. I will take a piece of paper and I will put that on different parts of my shark to compare two values next to each other. It kind of helps to separate it. So, once I've kind of gotten blended. So I'll show you that in a sec. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because this blending part kind of smooths out things, and then you have to go back in. Oh, I forgot the anal fin. Nobody told me. I knew something was missing. So the anal fin's just one fin, and it's behind the anus. You guys were going to let me not get that done. You guys got to keep me honest here. Okay. So, yeah, and I'm just seeing a few things I want to get a little bit better. All right. So that's kind of the basic values. But now we want to start making it more realistic. So again, what I'll do is I'll take a little piece of paper, and I can just notice like there's really obvious difference in the value on top of her snout and underneath. And I've got the top too dark so far. So I want to lift that out. So we'll do some lifting and darkening. So you can either darken the bottom of the snout more, or you can highlight the top of the snout, right? And so you can either use a charcoal pencil or you can use an eraser. I love using these erasers that you actually sharpen. Oh yeah, Lisa says you didn't have the fin in front of the anal fin because I couldn't really see it in the photograph. Yeah. So these are the pectoral fins, and the shark's left pectoral fin is angled upwards. It's kind of against the body, but I took some artistic license just so we can really see it better, and I brought it down here. Okay. All right. So anyway, we can lighten up. So I will lighten up this edge, and it's a pretty strong highlight, especially above the eye. And these pencils smear a lot, so we will need to fix that a bit. Okay. And that highlight kind of comes down. We see that. And then under the eye, again, we've got that shadow. And also we see some dots for the ampullae of Lorenzini. And we can also darken the nostril. Okay. And maybe this part. So at a certain time when you're drawing, you have to kind of stop really looking a bit at your reference photo and start just using what you know about highlights and shadows because photos are difficult, especially underwater. So I cut the background out so it's a little harder to see. But you have to just start using your knowledge of back and forth. You have to use your knowledge of three-dimensional form. So yeah, and again, I might highlight the front of that fin. It looks like she's kind of turning it somewhat a little bit. All righty. And yeah, it takes a while to just make something really soft. Okay. And then coming back towards here, we definitely have some part of the gills are a little darker, and there's a little bit of highlights on the top maybe. But for sure, it's super dark right here. That's almost the darkest part of the fish, except for the mouth. I didn't finish her mouth. And you don't see the teeth. If you want to add a little bit of teeth, you might be able to see the lower teeth just a little bit, but don't go crazy with that because again, some sharks you can see their teeth better than others. And yeah, I see her mouth comes way up here. And then it kind of goes like that. All righty. So Lisa says, I guess three-dimensional form is part of perspective. Yes. So to emphasize, yeah, so three-dimensional form is when we're talking about, is something a sphere? Is it a cone? Is it a, sorry, my brain just is not working when I'm drawing. And so to help you emphasize that, yeah, you use the laws of perspective, and we can push those laws more to make something look a little bit more scary. So we'll do that in a second. We can, and the other day when I was teaching kids, I was showing them videos of Finding Nemo, and there's that scene with the shark. You might know the shark named Bruce that has the wonderful scene in Finding Nemo where he's trying to say fish are friends and he's not going to eat them. But we were looking at how many things about those drawings in cartoons are super realistic, but they emphasize things to make it look more cartoony and more scary. Not, cartoony in that, like, the eyes will be a lot more expressive. But I'll show you as we finish this up how to push the perspective. And again, those of you in my Nature Notebook Club will have that really detailed lesson. So yeah, here we go. So anyway, where are we? Oh, Elizabeth, hi. We haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for joining. So now I'm getting back more to this part of the body, and it is kind of challenging because the top part of the body is technically much more pigmented than the bottom, but there's also highlights that make it lighter, more light like the belly. And so that can be a little confusing. And we'll get the eye at the very end. Sorry, I tend to skip around, so you don't have to be following me exactly. But so like the body is very rounded and fat here, so this blue part is going to be a lot darker. And again, if I put a piece of paper next to this the body compared to the fin, there's a really obvious line here of the fin, the highlight. And so we can lift that out. We can even do that with our opaque pencil in the end. And then darkening that fin, showing the pigment. And this fin is also closer to us than the belly, maybe by a foot because it's sticking out closer to us. So I like to really make that edge sharp. That's one way you show perspective, is if you make certain edges sharper than others. Okay. Compared to like this other fin. So I could soften these edges here if I wanted to make this fin really look like it was going away from us. Because this fin, the tip of this fin could be 5 feet farther away from us than this fin, right? So we want to push those laws, and with aerial perspective, something farther away is going to have blurrier edges. We're going to run out of time here. Run out of time. And it's also going to be lighter. Well, I'm just going to soften this a bit. I don't want this to visually come towards us. So it's shadowed because of the sun, but it's also white compared to the body. So it is tricky when you're drawing something. You've got to balance showing the color with value as well as showing highlights and shadows. Oh, Elizabeth, you're recuperating from knee surgery. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you're back. And yes, I'm doing well. Living here in Southern Oregon now. Okay. All righty. So continuing on. Yeah, so this fin is pigmented black and it's being shadowed by the sun. So it's going to be darker than this top fin. Even though this fin looks really dark, I want to emphasize that. And I could even switch it up and add a little charcoal. But charcoal and graphite pencils don't really play well together. So, all righty. And there is, you can't see this demarcation, but we should show that because this is not the same surface. And again, since this is going to be angled down, it's shadowed. So I might want to just kind of make a little lightening there, a little subtle light, and more light here on this part. Because again, this guy's three-dimensional like a submarine. So the bottom of its belly is going to be a bit darker. All right. So yeah, I just want to have that angle. I hope you guys are enjoying getting a little bit detailed with this guy. Again, each day is going to be a little bit more challenging of a pose. Okay. All right. So where are we now? So then the body, and again, if you put a piece of paper next to the fin and the body, the fin is darker than the body. And so, I either want to make that a lot darker There we go. And then the middle part of the body, though, is going to be darker than the top. And this part here is going to be darker than this, maybe, although it is pointing, actually, it's pointing away from the sun. She is swishing her tail. So we're actually pretty dark here, aren't we? And then there's a shadow here on the top of the pectoral fin. I mean, the pelvic fin that's probably being cast maybe by this fin. So we're really getting crazy here. Okay, let's see. What else can we do? And yeah, I want to really make this come forward. Because this, well, it has a highlight on it, actually. That is closer than this one. But this one does have some pigment in it. It's closer to us, though, than that one, because that one's sticking straight out, and these ones are down a little bit. Elizabeth said, you're enjoying the replays, watching the shark movies with my son. Oh, wonderful. Okay. And so these values look really similar, and they really shouldn't. So we can think about that. I think the belly should be a little bit darker than that fin. So I'm going to make it a little bit darker to separate it. And again, this back part of the belly might be shadowed compared to up here. So at a certain point, again, we have to kind of quit looking at our photo and start thinking about what we really know about how light falls on form. Oops, like that should be a little thinner there. All right, where are we now? Whew, we're almost at an hour, but I really want to finish this. Tell me in the chat box if it's okay if we keep working on this. So I'm blending this a bit more because I really do want to emphasize the three-dimensional form. Jackie said you'll catch the rest later. You have a 10 o'clock appointment, but you're looking forward to tomorrow. Good. All righty. This upper fin is bigger and thicker than the lower fin. It's going to have more of a shadow on it. Okay. All right. So now comes the really fun part, is the final highlights and shadows. So I might actually add a pen. So I'm going to, let's see, emphasize our eye. We see the kind of pupil and the edge of the eye. Okay, and maybe the edge of the mouth. And I think maybe emphasizing a little bit of the shadow of the gills. And emphasizing this edge here. And maybe this edge, so the pen can really make that edge sharper. And making this come forward. Okay. And then I can use my highlighters, which could be either my white charcoal or my Uniposca pen. And so it just depends on how light we want something. So I'll look at where we have some highlights here. So yeah, if I wanted a really strong highlight, I could add this. So I don't know if I want a little bit more of a highlight on the eye. It's a little bit dirty. Oh yeah, this is the one that's dying. I forgot. So this one, oh, it's pretty thick. And I want to emphasize that edge a bit more. Oh, now I got some yellow on it. Well, actually, remember, this is the lemon shark, so it actually should have a little bit more yellow. And maybe some highlight in the front there. Yeah, they are a very beautiful yellow. And this picture shows that they're beautiful, beautiful yellow ochre color. Okay. Yeah, I just really want to keep playing with this a bit. Right. So, yeah, so this is fairly realistic, but if I want to push these values a bit more to make it more like Bruce the shark, we want to emphasize her mouth could be almost 10 feet closer to us, her snout and her mouth and her tail. So if we wanted to, we could soften the edges of some of this stuff a bit that's coming back here. And, that takes a little while, but softening that almost like it's in what are we saying? It's the murky water. Remember, these guys live in pretty murky water, like bays and estuaries, and they spend a lot of time in mangrove swamps. And so this whole area could be a lot lighter and the edges a lot softer. Trying to erase that pencil line, which was a little bit too strong. Fins. What about the fins, you said? And then I could emphasize some things like, again, her snout is coming right towards us. So to emphasize that, I can get this outline here. And again, this is tough to do when it's taped down. And really emphasize some details of her mouth and her snout and her eye. Oh yeah, that's looking fun. And let's see. Let's make her look a little bit mad. But yeah, that snout's coming right towards us. This fin. And again, I'm emphasizing this edge more than we see in the photo to really show it coming forward. Cool. Yeah. And gosh, where are we here? I could add a little bit more, maybe some more details, like if you can, since this is so much closer to us, a little bit more details. And oh yeah, let's see. I might try to, I don't know why my pen's not working. Pen is dirty. Yeah, I tend to kind of go back and forth a lot. Sorry if I'm messing you guys up. And let's see, this is closer. Maybe a little bit stronger there. Yeah, I'm trying not to have a line, but just an area of value. And And see, her belly is kind of weird right there. And maybe lightening that up. Yeah, you can use the edge of your charcoal pencil. That's a good thing to do. I can use the edge of my charcoal pencil to soften these edges that are farther away from us. So I'm trained as a biological illustrator, so I would not be doing this if this was for a biological illustration. You don't want to emphasize the aerial or atmospheric perspective like you would that I'm doing now. And that's one reason I love doing this kind of drawing way more than biological illustrations, because it's really fun to push this. And maybe the top of these have some highlights. Okay, I'm going a little crazy here. I think I'm going a little crazy here. We need to wrap this up. So, wow, I think that was fun. And we're only a few minutes past the hour. So, I really hope you enjoyed following along with drawing this lemon shark. Again, they're called a lemon shark because they have a yellowish coloration, but it's more really kind of a yellow ochre and umber, maybe because they live in the shallows, often where it's kind of muddy, like mangrove forests. And they have a pretty small distribution just along the coast of the Americas, the east and right coast of the Americas, and then the west coast of Africa. And they're generally in shallow waters, and they're generally pretty mellow. So I might have some fun and keep working on this a bit more to get her even more realistic, because I'm having so much fun with her. But yeah, that's how I emphasized the three-dimensional form. And yeah, it's hard to not want to keep going. And yeah, really pushing that three-dimensional form, making her look a lot closer to us here. Maybe even some more of these dots on her snout of the ampullae of Lorenzini. Yeah, I got to stop. I get into my right brain and really have fun with it. Elizabeth said, "You love it." Yay, I'm so glad. So, yeah, this was super fun, and I hope you enjoyed joining me. Tomorrow, again, we'll have another meetup. So please, I know you're watching either on YouTube or Facebook, and right below there's this little arrow that's the share button. And I would super appreciate, because not very many people are joining us live. I've only had like 5 or 10 people, and I know the Discovery Channel Shark Week is really popular. And of course, people love drawing sharks, especially kids. So click that share button, share it to your social media, or send send that link in an email to a friend, maybe an educator. You might know somebody who works in an aquarium or works in marine conservation. But remember, I teach drawing really as a way to really deeply learn how to appreciate something. And once you've drawn it and looked at something this long, you can really become fascinated by it, and then hopefully fascinated by helping to conserve them. So, not eating shark meat, not supporting people who fish for shark for sport, or who eat shark fin soup. There's a lot of ways you can help protect sharks, or at least educate other people how to protect sharks. So I hope you really enjoyed joining us. And remember, you can watch this one as well as all the other replays, like on the Mako shark so far and on the blue shark, on my YouTube channel in the playlist called Sketching Sharks. So I really hope that you'll also check out my online course at christineelder.com/shark online course. And that course I'm selling for only $25 this week. And I only talk about this course once a year during Shark Week. And so you can buy it for just $25, and then you'll have it forever, or you can share it with kids or families that you know. Give it away as a gift. So thanks so much for joining again, both live and replay viewers. And thanks a lot. And we'll see you again in the future, maybe tomorrow, for our next species that's going to be a secret. And that pose, again, is going to be even more challenging. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you're excited about that. Okay, bye.